I'm Nick Filardi.
I'm Jason Thielbar.
Welcome to the world's second finest podcast. Today, we're talking Batbooks, which came out November 1995. So, Jason, I snuck in some links to Batman books in the show notes for the previous episode and in the show notes for the To Read pile. So if people want to get books, they can. They are straight up Amazon affiliate links. I want to be perfectly clear about that. Like, if you want to support the pod, it's a good way to support the pod. However, go to your local comic store.
Oh, yeah.
Here's the tier structure, right? Number one, up top of the bullet, go to a Comic-Con, buy the book from an artist. Have them sign it, chit chat with them, talk about comics. Everybody loves talking about comics. Number two is go to your local comic store, talk to them about it. Don't ask them to sign it. Just buy it. And then number three is click the Amazon link if you're in like a comic desert, and then, get a cool comic book in the mail. That said, apparently a lot of the Bat books, especially in this era, are not available in collections. There's a lot that are just not available. However,
I can
Kelly
see that,
Jones, yeah. Kelly Jones has 2 hardcovers that is all his Batman stuff.
Oh, no shit.
They are wildly out of print. So they're like $250. I put those links in the description. I don't expect anyone to buy them.
That was such a Professor Farnsworth. Good news, everyone. But there's Kelly Jones collections of a lot of the Batman stories he did. And they're all out of print and very expensive.
Yeah. I wish that stuff was in print. I wish you could get it pretty easily, but we read along on the DC app, which is like some amount of dollars a month. I think it's like $5. I'm not sure, but
maybe 8 now, but not
maybe
not
8.
Like
something like that. So that's where we read. And we are going to get into Bat books in a second. However, let me tell you about Coin Boys, Jason.
Coin Boys.
Yeah, I read this on Reddit, on the teachers subreddit, because I'm terminally online, apparently.
Yeah.
Look, yeah. Twitter collapsed, and then like going deep on Reddit has been the replacement in my life.
Yeah, there's spending some times in the off-season doldrums of the NFL and NBA subreddits have been
there you go.
I've been there even more. So I'm like, what stupid mini camp news am I going to read about, today?
So this teacher posted, every year these kids come back with a new annoying quirk. Coin boys are apparently the new thing. And they wrote, in my 10th year of teaching mostly freshmen, and ever since the pandemic, and honestly, like 5 years before that, there's always a new quote unquote thing that the students bring to school that they learned over the summer from the internet or wherever. The newest thing here is a flock of self-proclaimed coin boys who carry a quarter on hand at all times and constantly flip it. They've modeled their entire personality to revolve around the coin flips, and chance. When we went around doing an icebreaker, 4 or 5 of the kids said some variation of live by the coin, die by the coin for their fact. And just about an hour ago, when I assigned the first assignment of the school year, one of the coin boys was bold enough to say, heads I do it, tails I don't. And I told him if he flipped that coin, he would be getting a call home the first week of high school. He flipped it anyway. It came up heads. Thank God for that. But then another coin boy in class started flipping his coin, came up tails, and he said the coin's spoken and he's not doing the work. I said, very well, enjoy your 0 and a call home. What a great way to start off the school year and your high school career.
Wow. That's amazing. That should be, I mean, I understand
it's hilarious.
I understand as a teacher, why you have to be like, stop doing this, you know? Like I have
please, I'm begging you to stop doing this.
Yeah. But as a non-teacher, it's just beautiful.
It's very tempting to become a coin boy.
Yeah.
So
it is.
I was looking at this, and we are currently covering a Two-Face arc in Batman and Robin Adventures.
Yes.
And it made me start thinking about the coin boys in this classroom. Because I was like, man, if you're flipping the coin, let's say generously, you flip, to do the assignment, let's say 60% of the time, generously, because it's going to be close to 50-50 the more you flip it.
Yeah.
So generously, 60%. Say you get 100% on every single assignment, right? You're still failing. Like you're still making terrible choices.
Hey, you live by the coin, you die by the coin, man. Like,
yeah. But then I started thinking about Two-Face, and it's like half of his choices should be awful for him. Like just absolute, like he should be there like live by the coin, die by the coin, like flips the coin, looks at it, and goes, well, racks shotgun, shoots his lawyer, and then is like, I guess I'm going to jail, whatever.
Yeah. I mean, he's shown to cheat a lot, but I do, and this is a brand new hot take, fresh off the top of my dome.
Okay.
I was just thinking about Two-Face vis-a-vis the coin flip, and I'm like, oh, that's the urge that at least Americans have. I don't want to speak for any other country because I haven't grown up or lived or been in any other country, but Americans have this like idea of justice being black and white. This idea of you're either good or you're bad, and like you're either just a straight up criminal and too far gone, and that's the way you were born no matter what, or you are a good person, and you can be a good person and do lots of bad things, but if you're never labeled as a criminal, you know that you're not that type. But just the clear, I think it's more just like, the clear, like, no. This is the bad side of the coin. This is the good side of the coin. And that's the way the world works. And if you try to tell me any different, I'm going to take a Tommy gun to your face. Yeah, it's an attractive way to live without the Tommy gun, perhaps, in school. Yeah. Yes, let's not do that. Yeah. There's been too much of that. But But it's the idea of like, also the idea of being like, I'm just going to take it out of my hands. Like, I've been making choices for my entire life, and now I'm in high school. We're just going to leave this thing to chance, That's a great point. Be like, oh, it wasn't me, it was the coin. Right, exactly. It was the coin that decided. It wasn't me that decided. I didn't decide it. Me? Oh. This is a warning shot for us turning into coin boys. TikTok is gonna breed Two-Faces, is what I'm saying. That's what's happening around us in the world right now. I would fear that if I didn't know for a fact that the younger generation, and even people 10 years older than the younger generation, will have a nervous breakdown if you have them call a restaurant on a phone to like order something, Yeah. So to be fair, even in our generation, sometimes I have to steel myself before picking up a phone. Anyway, we should jump into this, because I'm also, the reason this pod is late is because I've been nursing a cough for weeks. And if my voice sounds weird at any point, it is because I have been coughing for weeks. And I have taken so much cough medicine, Jason. I'm basically our man. If he like took a pill and instead of getting super strong and durable, he just like did podcasts. That's basically my situation right now. You replaced your blood with tussin, just nothing but tussin. running through those veins.
Oh,
to be fair to you though,
thick blood.
My body has also been broken. I have a I have a terrible pinched nerve, and I was thankful. I still have it, but I was thankful for the excuse to be like, oh yeah, it's all Nick's fault. It's totally all him. I'm not laying on my side in great pain.
Let's limp this podcast into the end zone. All right. And that starts with the first steps of Batman 525, written by Doug Munch, art by Kelly Jones and John Beatty, Todd Klein on letters, colors by Greg Wright, seps by Android Images, edited by Denny O'Neil with associate editor Jordan Gorfunkel. It's part of the Underworld Unleashed event, which is Neuron, King of Hell, giving powers to C-tier villains. This is Frozen Assets. Batman runs down his victories. Scarecrow, recapture. Croc, at peace in the swamp. Black Mask, still at large for seemingly years. For a really long time at this point. You should really get up. Freeze tries to sell cryogenic freezing to old rich ding-dongs. It's a total grift, and he's going to take all their money and kill them. But no one signed up.
I do love Kelly Jones's depiction of the old rich ding-dongs, though. So
good. They're weird little faces, and his drawing of Freeze too is really, really great. You can tell that it's a little bit Batman animated series, the way Kelly Jones draws him, but kind of not as well. And I was trying to think if we've seen Freeze before like Kelly Jones drew him. And I don't know if we had. There was like one where he was like fished out of the river, the like holiday one where Montoya was in the morgue.
Yeah, and wasn't he also? Yeah, there was that.
But he wasn't in a suit. He was like in a jumpsuit or whatever.
Yeah, I have this feeling he had some small bit part in like maybe even like the beginning of Nightfall or something like that. Like
maybe.
I don't know. A lot of the Nightfall Knight's Quest kind of
it all blurred together.
Yeah.
But I was trying to think about like, because I know that he got a redesign on the animated series, and then that redesign became like the path iconic for the comic book redesign. Yeah. And I know that with Neuron giving C-tier villains powers, like he juices up Mr. Freeze, and they use it as like an excuse to kind of redesign him. What did he look like before? And we've read so many fucking Batman books, but I have no idea what he looked like before this.
This is giving me a different kind of respect for the ultra devoted like super fan who could probably tell you even just ballpark of like when we were thinking about like he appeared or did or didn't, because this stuff just kind of
and we started in 91 and it's 95 now, so it's like he hasn't been around for like 4 years. So if you're a Mr. Freeze fan, like you're not eating during this time.
You're living on leftovers, whatever scraps that you have in your long box. You're like, well, I guess I'll go back to my favorite Mr. Freeze. Maybe I'll go to my second favorite one because I haven't read that in a while.
So this grift. No one signs up. No one takes the bait. The rich people are apprehensive about it. Freeze has 2 henchmen that he's explaining this to, his grift. One is a lady who's basically wearing lingerie and a jacket, and the other is a regular dude dressed up in jeans. They rhyme everything they say. The girl is named Ice, and the regular dressed dude in jeans is named Cube. It's a thing.
I gave a little.
Freeze is pissed that the elderly people turned him down, so he's like, "Whatever, we'll just go kill them. It's not a big deal. We tried to grift them. Now we'll just murder them."
Yeah, I'm a villain. That's always Plan B.
So they do that. They leave behind a calling card with 2 circles on it. Batman tracks down the Cryolab grift via the phone number for the place. Robin gets an address. Also, Batman made Robin feel like garbage for making a quip in the Batcave about like he made some kind of like I forgot because I read this weeks ago before I got my cough, but he makes some like quip like, yeah, gave him a real cold shoulder, and Batman's like, the fuck is wrong with you? Like, people are dead. Come on, Robin, get it together.
And Robin's like, Batman, I have PTSD, okay? Gallows humor is often used by first responders and soldiers after the horrors that they've seen, all right? The things I've seen, man, and I canonically haven't even had sex yet. So you know what? Calm down.
Yeah, let's take your judgment down a notch. Anyway, at the cryo lab, Batman finds a handwritten list of victims with great penmanship. Goes to a name on the list and finds Freeze has already killed that guy. Batman finds the henchman, Ice and Cube. He makes quick work of them. He fights Mr. Freeze using a medieval shield to block his freeze ray, and then blasting caps to get through the ice. Eventually gets to Freeze, clocks him in the dome of his suit that keeps him cool, and pushes him into a lit fireplace. After doing that, Batman tells him to shut up. Meanwhile, Gordon and Sarah are working on fixing their marriage. Sarah's endorsing Jim for mayor, even though she works for the current mayor, Kroll. But Jim is dropping out of the race. They're putting everything behind Grange instead. Next issue, Alfred and Robin and the nonstop action of constant whitewater. I don't know what that means. It was written at the end of the summary that I had. I don't know if that's what it said at the end of the issue. I've totally forgotten. Jason, what'd you think of Batman 525?
I really enjoyed it. I do have to say though, it was like more I think more from the Kelly Jones art. Like the story was fine and it was fun. The story was a lot of fun and it was a lot of like hijinks, and I think that like, but I also think that that's maybe all they were trying to do with it.
Sure. Yeah.
You know, but I think it was a pretty good, really fun story with, you know, again, great Kelly Jones art and a really just awesome, like badass Mr. Freeze costume.
Yeah. Freeze was so cool through this whole thing. And it made his henchmen terrible because of it. Like Freeze was great, intimidating, like violent, capable, all those things. And then the henchmen were like just kind of there to make an Ice Cube pun. And it was just like odd and weird. But I also kind of liked it because they rhymed everything, and I'm a sucker for that. So I don't know. But
well, I think Mr. Freeze probably works best without henchmen.
Yeah. Freeze works best without henchmen. But something you said about the art, that first page where Batman's like on the rooftop and he's like all cape and it's like the city and he's running down his like, Scarecrow captured, Black Mask, letting him do whatever he wants, I guess. That page, that splash that Kelly Jones did is so nice.
Oh, like, yeah.
This issue all the way through, Kelly Jones it's just so good. It's just like a unique, beautiful voice in comics.
Oh yeah. Well, and on the cape thing, do you think that, because I think I mentioned it before on some episode way back, but I remember this quote in an interview with Frank Miller from the 90s where he joked about him and Mike Mignola were in an arms race to see who could use the most black ink per page. And like, do you think at the time Kelly Jones and Todd McFarlane were in a quieter arms race of who could make the wildest, like largest cape?
Oh man,
like flowing.
I mean, by this time, Spawn's out, but Todd also made his mark on Batman with some wild cape designs as well.
Yeah,
so
that's true. Yeah, that's right.
Maybe he set the tone, and Kelly Jones is like cracking his knuckles at his desk, like, "All right, motherfucker, let's do this."
It's like, oh, that's a good idea. Okay, I see it.
Yeah,
maybe.
I really like this issue. I also like that we're getting close to the end of the mayoral race because I don't like that subplot. I find it tedious and dull. So
yeah. Oh, yeah. I want another B plot.
Yeah. And we get another B plot in Detective, but we're not quite there yet. Do you want to take us into Shadow of the Bat 45? Which, Jason, this was something.
Yeah, it was.
Strap in, dear listener.
Shadow of the Bat, issue 45. The shadow of the bat falls on Wayne Manor in Anatomy of a Murder. Written by Alan Grant, penciled by Mikhail Dukowitz, inked by Jerry Fernandez, colorist Pamela Rambo, top tier name, color separations, Android Images, letterers Bill Oakley, cover painter the legendary living legend Brian Stillfreeze. Follow him on social media. He still posts a lot, still posts amazing work.
Oh man, so yeah, his con sketches. Whew.
Yeah.
Holy shit,
just amazing. Yeah. Jordan B. Gorfunkel is associate editor, and the big editor is Dennis O'Neill. It's a full moon on a cloudy night in Gotham. We have Bullock making his acquaintance with Alfred, who's ever the dry, bitchy wit. So what brings Bullock here at this late hour? Well, it's a murder in Wayne Manor.
Well, a murder from a long, long time ago.
Well, yeah. That's why it's just Bullock who's, makes his way through just the opulence and the like. Oh, hey, here, this room costs like 5 years of my salary. Cool.
Yeah.
Bullock is shown to where the corpse is, and it's down in the wine cellar. And he says, I heard you got a corpse among your clarets, which I'm like, all right, Harv, that's a good one. He probably like looked up types of wine like before that.
You think he's in the car, like, I guess not. There's no cell phones at this point, but he's like he's at the office. Like, there's a body in a wine basement. I got to come up with. Can't seem like a fucking idiot in front of the Waynes.
Yeah, the only two wines types of wine I know are Carlo Rossi and Manischewitz. I don't think that's right. In the wine cellar, in an old drainage ditch, there's a skeleton with a knife sticking out of it. Clearly a murder, but they only sent one cop because, it's a nice cold case, as Bullock says. And Bullock is like, yeah, he's probably been dead for like 50 years. And Alfred's guessing longer than that, giving his clearly mid-19th century jacket, which Alfred knows his fashion history. So, hey, the pile of bones is holding a book stamped with JTW. And suddenly Bruce is shocked. He's like, holy crap, that's my granddad, Joshua Thomas Wayne, his great-great-grandfather's brother that just disappeared during the Civil War. Oh my God, how spooky. So while Bruce pretends to be all like sick and woozy about there being a skeleton in the basement, he says he's going to away himself to his library, which I just always enjoy Bruce having to. I think if we imagine Bruce Wayne as a real person, that we imagine him really enjoying playing up being like a scared like Nancy boy.
Oh yeah.
Just having so much fun with it, being like, like I could kill everyone in this room, but I'm going to pretend that I'm scared of this bee.
Oh my God. I would buy a comic of Bruce Wayne. Like, he's in public, so he has to maintain a persona, and he's being chased by a bee. And that's the whole comic. And he's like, I could kick this bee's ass at any time, but I can't because everyone's watching me. They would know. They would know right away. They would know I'm Batman. If I punched this bee, they'd know I'm Batman.
Yeah. That guy just punched a bee and it exploded. Holy shit, he's Batman.
He's Batman. Holy shit.
It all comes tumbling down.
He did something similar in the previous month's books where he like played golf badly on purpose.
Oh, yeah.
And then Tim's like, what are you doing? And he's like, I can't let my secret identity. It's like, it's fucking golf, dude. You can be good at golf. Like, it's okay. Like, that's fine.
People who like to golf have that friend who's like pretty good at golf. You can just be pretty good at it. You don't have to be like...
Right. Bruce, just leaning into being an idiot. I love it.
After Bruce weighs himself to his library, he cracks open an old book titled My Life in the Underground, reading the account of his ancestors and how and why they bought the grounds of Wayne Manor. And they bought because they noticed all the bats. And they were like, oh, there must be a deep cave somewhere, perfect for their work in the Underground Railroad, helping escape slaves to freedom. Oh, man, there's going to be some white savior stuff in there.
Yeah, whoa, man. Oh, Strap in.
There's even a long list of names of the escaped slaves they helped to freedom, framed and hanging in the library. Which, great that you're keeping a list of people's names who are on the run.
Yeah, right.
But anyway, let's get back to it. Bruce goes back to reading his forefathers' account. So back in the past, some newly escaped slaves are secreted into the newly built Wayne Manor, rushed in because a bounty has already been set for their heads. Bruce's great-great-grandfather, Solomon, asks where the fifth man is. On their way, he was complaining of the cold and said he wished he was back in Maryland. He must have ran off. This is a big problem. Saul asked about his brother, and he was told that he vowed to bring back the missing man. Okay, so you're hunting a runaway slave. All right, fine. You know what? I'm not going to get too deep into that.
Also, Jason, it's like he's a slave and he's on his way to freedom. And he's like, I don't know. It's too cold.
Yeah.
What are we doing? What is this book?
Yeah.
Okay, continue.
So that missing man is found by bounty hunters. And oh man, they're not going to be too nice to this guy, Sam, the runaway slave. Dodges a buck knife thrown his way from one of the bounty hunters, and he just gives up. And just as he's about to be tortured for information on where the other slaves are, a man in a black mask, black cloak, swings down with a frickin' saber, which, gotta say, love every moment of just like dude flying through the air, either wielding a sword or Tony John Umbach style, just like knee to the face through with like, yes. Yeah. Every time, enjoyable. Please. Yeah. Every time, please. He beats the crap out of the two bounty hunters and saves Sam. Now the rest of the escaped slaves are getting nervous, thinking they should give up and go back. Saul reminds them that there is no going back now. If any of them are caught, it's bad for all involved. And that's putting it way lighter than Saul put it, let's say, because man, he gets kind of gruesome.
Yeah.
The two bounty hunters chasing Sam, though, weren't alone. They've gone back to their friends for reinforcements and revenged on the caped man in black who knocked them around, but refused to kill them. Which, you know, how all that refusing to killing other men that, like, men did in this time in America, you know?
Yeah. The Civil War, notoriously a peaceful time between Americans.
Oh, yeah. It was just a bunch of conversations, some shouting here and there, but, you know, we all apologized for it and everything was fine. The Waynes make their play to move the runaway slaves. It's winter, it's snowing, they're trudging through the woods, and they happen upon the group of the bounty hunters. Joshua Wayne, the man in black, tells them he'll lead them in the other direction while the rest leave with the escaped slaves. After a little bit of pushback from Saul, he knows it's the only way to save them all. And what a distraction it is. The aforementioned flying through the air, saber out, and ready to do some damage as he crashes into the bounty hunters. Some things must run in families, I suppose. After causing that ruckus, Joshua leads the crew on a chase across the rope bridge while the snow continues to blanket the ground. Just as he reaches the other side, the first goon he beat up chucks his buck knife at him, hitting him right in the chest. They make their way to finish the job, but it's too late. The rope snaps, and they fall to their doom.
It's Indiana Jones stuff right there.
Oh, yeah. It was, well, we'll get more into it in a second. Okay. They make their way to finish their job. They all fall to their doom. Bruce figures out that Joshua must have known he was dying and that his body couldn't be found. So he crawled his way into a drainage outlet where he was found that night. Bruce also finds an old newspaper with the headline, 6 bodies found, confirming the theory he had about what had happened. It was all the bounty hunters. Bullock finishes what he needs to do. Bruce asks who he thinks might have done it, and the sergeant replies, Abe Lincoln for all I care. Very professional, Harv. He's done here. Bruce gives his ancestor a proper burial and ponders over the other names on his family's gravestones. They're all dead now, only their deeds live on. He's the last Wayne and he has no kids, and he wonders at what his legacy will end up being. Next issue, Cornelius Stirk gets to the heart of the matter in Fear Frenzy. Nick, what'd you think? What'd you think about Shadow of the
Bat 45? Extremely cringy. Like,
yes,
just it speaks to it's 1995 and a comic writer has a little bit of knowledge about history, but not a lot. And he doesn't really need a lot because he's selling a Batman book to a child. And so we don't have to be super accurate. The important thing is that the guy swings in with a sword and then fucks shit up. And like, that's all the kid's going to care about. So like everything else is kind of secondary. And it just kind of like feels like that vibe of like, I'm not going to try to really get this right because nobody cares. But we're also in 1995, we're like on the edge of people starting to care about this stuff. And it reads like an old comic more than something that is going to stand the test of time. Because all the white savior stuff is like really bad. There's a part in it where like the slaves are getting nervous, or the ex-slaves who are in the Underground Railroad, and they're safe in the Batcave, and they're getting nervous about like completing the journey or whatever. And they're like, there's some line or something. The Waynes are like, nobody is leaving this cave unless they're going on the underground. Like, they're like, they have to like convince the slaves to go for their freedom. Like, the white savior is going to drag your ass across the finish line and save you because you're unable to do it yourself. And it's like, oh my God, what are we reading? What the fuck are we reading?
Yeah. It's you're right. It's knowing a tiny bit about history, but not doing it. And again,
and it's like, fair, it's also like, it's the time. They want to make the Waynes the heroes.
Yep.
You know?
Yeah. That's what my first thought when I was like, oh, of course his ancestors were in the Underground Railroad. Like, they were racist back then. Like, yeah.
But it's like, you know, you can put them in the Underground Railroad and still have a compelling fight and not have to do this like white savior nonsense. You know what I mean? Like, I could see this comic working today, just like adjusted.
Oh yeah. And like the art was great, and the story itself, absent of like the white savior thing, I thought was a thing that I love about a series like Shadow of the Bat, which is just like, it can be really hard to tell a really good, tight, single issue story, you know, because like you have the space you have to work with, you know?
Right.
And I thought like the story in that kind of structural sense was really good and really solid. It's just the stuff that didn't age well just didn't age well.
Yeah.
But the art was fantastic. And again, to be fair, he's kind of writing it geared towards kids. It is, what is it, 1994? Like, you're writing a monthly book. You're trying to write other stuff. Are you really going to spend
it's just
4 months? I mean, I get it.
I'm not saying, okay.
I'm not like hand waving it away, but.
Yeah, right. Shadow of the Bat 43 and 44 also had like indigenous people who are worshiping a cat god that was like a little bit questionable too. And like,
Oh yeah.
it just feels like maybe this writer didn't necessarily like age well with whatever. You know what I mean? It's just like, this is just comics of the time, comics of their day, you know, like, I don't know anything about this person's politics. So whatever, like, I'm not going to jump to any assumptions, but none of that stuff aged well. Like in 43, 44, or the white savior stuff in 45, none of it aged well.
Yeah. And you know, it didn't, but I think that it's because it just made me think of how Short Circuit and Short Circuit 2 came out not long before this.
Oh,
which featured a white man in brown face playing an Indian man doing an accent.
So bad.
And a movie that I adored when I wanted to be Johnny Five when I was a kid, because I thought it'd be so cool to read books as fast as he could.
Yeah.
But you know, like, no, and those were big movies too. Those weren't like,
right.
You know, so like, I think that, like, I don't know, it's judging it at the time, but also as I'm talking, I'm like, well, it's me as a white man who doesn't, like, I can recognize things that are offensive, but they're not offensive personally to me because I've only ever had to live as a white man. So like, you know, like, so that's why I swear I'm not trying to like hand wave it or anything, but just that, like, you know, I wouldn't really want to hold Alan Grant's feet to the fire over it or anything.
Yeah,
like he probably looks back on it and goes like, I could have done better there.
Weird line,
you know, like,
it's a weird line to walk, because at the one point, I don't want to hold Alan Grant's feet to the fire on it, like you said, but on the other side, it's like, I don't want to endorse this comic either, you know?
Oh yeah. You have to like recognize it, but like, it doesn't mean that, like, you know, it's like reading Faulkner, and whenever he talks about black people, like, well, the language is a bit different because it was written in the freaking 30s, man. Like, it was written after World War I. So like, not only are there were other acceptable things, but like the other things that were not really acceptable weren't like so shocking for a white author to put in their book. You know, so like, it's just to like, I don't know.
I would have really loved this story if, who was it? Jonathan Wayne? Who was the grandfather who got killed?
Oh, well, that was the uncle. That it was, uncle? John. Yeah, John was the.
If like Bruce was reading
Joshua was the uncle. Solomon was his the great great grandfather.
If he's like reading this account, right? And it's like Joshua's full on fucking murder machine, like loves the murder, Punisher style, you know? And then Bruce had to, like, I don't know, reconcile with that like there was someone in his family that was like this, even if it was for a good cause. Like, what does he justify and what does he not justify? Like, that to me would have been a much meatier story than just Bruce being like, and my ancestors were all perfect, you know?
Yeah. Oh yeah. Well, and you could have had a great famous historical example of like John Brown. Well, John Brown was a bit before the Civil War, but not that much before, you know, exactly. or even fun sports fact. The University of Kansas, their mascot is the Jayhawk. They're known as the Jayhawks, right?
Okay.
Which is very funny to me because and it's like the nickname for people from Kansas. You know, they're like, oh, it's a Jayhawk, whatever. Jayhawk, though, I don't know if you know your history that much, but bloody Kansas. If you know, like the run up to the Civil War and a lot of the fighting and before the Civil War was about what was going to happen in the new territories and the new states that were being incorporated, and if they were going to allow slavery or not, you know. And Kansas was like highly contentious, right? Lots of fights and murders and back and forths and killings and all of that. And a Jayhawk, though, was an abolitionist who was wildly militant, like originally.
Really?
Yeah. Like, so
That's wild.
like, they were like, oh, you're supporting slavery, huh? I'm going to kill you. It's like, oh, what? It's like, and that's the name of a, of a, like, University of Kansas basketball is like the, like, prestigious of, like the man who invented basketball, Naismith, after he invented it, went on to coach at the University of Kansas, like in the super early days of, like, but so the Jayhawks. So fun sports fact.
Nice.
Yeah.
Let's move on to Detective Comics 692. Written by Chuck Dixon. Pencils by Staz Johnson. Inks by Scott Hanna. Colors by Gloria Vasquez. Seps by Android Images. Letters by John Costanza. Edits by Scott Peterson with Darren Vincenzo. It's part of Underworld Unleashed event, which was Neuron, King of Hell, giving powers to C-tier villains. This is Lying Eyes. We pick up where we left off. Last issue and pod. Spellbinder has Batman and Robin in a white void as she carts away bricks of gold. Batman and Robin are a total mess. They're running into invisible walls and falling down elevator shafts. It's a real shit show. Spellbinder gets away. Batman and Robin regroup in the cave, and they get Oracle on the case. Oracle solves the mystery of how she's doing this basically instantly and is aware of new powers from the Underworld event that's happening all over. Oracle realizes that Spellbinder is manipulating your occipital lobe to make you see whatever she wants. Meanwhile, Spellbinder is wilding out. Huge penthouse, and she's creating to her liking and changing the wallpaper and the outfits of the bellhops, and she's just like having a ball. SWAT can't send anyone in because every time somebody goes in, they think they're in a fantasy world and they freak out. Batman shows up, but this time he has Robin viewing the scene and describing it to him from cameras that are in his cowl. Plus, they're both wearing cybernetic armor to link their movements together. Robin is fighting for Batman, who can't trust his eyes. Batman follows Spellbinder to a ledge, and Robin tries to talk him through it. Batman seemingly takes the wrong step, falling to his death outside on this ledge, but then it's a total fake out. He grabs Spellbinder's ankle, knocking her over. She hits her head and is knocked out. She comes to, blindfolded in an interrogation room. She can't use her powers if she can't see. Bullock wants to get to the bottom of this Neuron guy. Also, when Tim Drake left Wayne Manor, he bumped into Madeline Corbett, lurking in the bushes and being the absolute mayor of fucking Crazy Town, as she's like trying to look in the windows to like see if Bruce is home and like, I guess go on a date after that. It's fucking weird. And then she's like, whatever, you don't know me. And then she like runs away from Tim. It's so strange, Jason. And that's the kind of B tier story that I'm looking forward to. Heck, this mayoral election. Give me more Madeline Corbett just being mayor of Crazy Town.
Honestly, yeah, I'd take that over the mayor shit.
Jason, what did you think of Detective Comics 692?
I despite myself, I liked it a lot.
I kind of dug it too, man. Spellbinder was a lot of fun.
Well, and not just that, and I know this is totally because of my age, but not too long ago, I had finished up William Gibson's All Tomorrow's Party because I had never read any William Gibson before. And I'm trying to close some gaps in my very poor sci-fi knowledge. No, I love the shit out of sci-fi. And when I was reading it, and because of when it was written, which was the mid 90s, is when All Tomorrow's Party was written. Just everything that popped in my head, like all the imagery of it, was just that very 90s sci-fi. What like the near future of technology will look like, which is just gear, which is just like hundreds and hundreds of pounds of gear. And just like
the rigging that Batman and Robin wear
Yeah.
It's like, it does not look comfortable at all. It does
No,
not look like
no.
you can fight in it either.
No, it doesn't look like you could move properly in it, like whatever. But that just like between that and between just how over the top of a villain Spellbinder was.
Yeah.
I'm like, all right, that's you know what, like you're hitting all these like, you know, like when you watch a really good dumb action movie and you're just like,
yeah, totally.
and you're just like, yeah, no, I don't care about this stupid plot. Sure, the main character's crying. He won't be crying in the next 2 seconds. Okay, there it is again. All right, you know, like
yeah.
You know, so like I really dug it on that level.
Yeah, it definitely had that like schlocky kind of fun action movie kind of stuff. The traumatized SWAT guy who thought he was like in Alice in Wonderland was very, very good. Yeah, man, so good. It was just a solid issue.
Yeah.
You want to take us into Batman and Robin issue 2?
Yeah, Batman and Robin issue number 2. Written by Paul Dini, penciled by Ty Templeton, inked by Rick Burchick, coloristed by Linda Medley, lettered by Richard Starkings and Comic Craft, associate edited by Darren Vincenzo, and big boy editing by Scott Peterson. And so we are tossed in medias beatdown because Batman and Robin are messing up some thugs for information on where Two-Face is. The very same question Batman asks, well, I mean, he kind of more shouts it, while holding a grown man up a few feet by his shirt as we head into Two-Timer Part 2. I can't believe, I'm going to be honest with everyone right now. I honest to God just noticed that it was Two-Timer Part 2. And it's Two-Timer, and it's a 2-part story, and it's Two-Face.
And this is issue 2?
And this is issue 2 of the
Two-Face arc?
Yeah.
Well, Jason, you're not going to become a coin boy like this.
No,
you got to get it together.
But you know what? I have something to aspire to.
Yeah, there you go.
So none of these goons have seen Two-Face around, but Bats is pissed, and he ain't buying any of their shit. So he drives Robin back to college. And Batman is anxious to find Two-Face because he believes his friend Harvey is still in there. Robin thinks he's a lost cause. Batman doesn't want to give up. Robin vaults a 12-foot-high fence to get back into his dorm room, bemoaning the tough night he's had. I just love a casual, like, this is something I'm always going to love about superhero books. It's like, yeah, he's Robin. Why wouldn't he be?
He's an acrobat.
Yeah, just like, you know, it's nothing. And what's this when he walks into his dorm room, though? It's Two-Face and some goons. I love how quickly Two-Face got goons.
I also really appreciate the actual goons themselves because they look like, because he got twin goons, right?
Yeah.
But it looks like he like couldn't find exactly he's like kind of settling on these goons because they're both like elderly men who are like his goons. He's like, I need twins, and this was all I could find
on such short notice.
Yeah, you know? Right, exactly.
Like sometimes you put the order in and they're like, hey, we have it in one size up or one size down, and you're like, fine.
Yeah,
I need it. I'll take what I can get. He knows. So Two-Face knows that Dick is close to Bruce, the man he believes betrayed him because of the Joker's trick. Dick attempts to reason with Two-Face, but is conked on the back of the head with the butt of a rifle. Classic one-button knockout. A phone rings at Wayne Manor. As soon as Alfred hears Two-Face's voice, long time no talk, buddy, he gets Bruce on the phone. Two-Face explains the situation. He's got Grace and Dick tied up at one of Wayne's new building projects, the one where the gala was held, where the fake betrayal taken place.
See the previous pod.
Yep. Editor's note. Dick is feigning as much helplessness as he can. Bruce gets instructions to be outside the manor alone. He's going to be taken for a ride. Goon Lift shows up and blindfolds him and shoves him in a car. Brought to the top of the building, Two-Face is excited to see him as they're now one big happy family with Bruce and Two-Face and Grace. One last chance to reason with Harv, and that, doesn't look like it's going to work, as it earns Bruce a punch right on his lantern jaw. Two-Face starts ranting. He's asking if, Bruce and Grace thought they could get one over on him, but the coin has already passed judgment and found him guilty. See?
Coin boys.
Hashtag coin boys. I'm gonna learn. I'm gonna learn how to be a coin boy. He's going to blow up Gotham Gardens when the clock strikes 2 a.m. Bruce, he's going to blow up Bruce, his ward, and his new legacy. Two-Face takes Grace with him, though, as he believes in second chances and that she was seduced by that cad, Bruce Wayne. As the elevator doors closed, Dick gets in a quick "I told you so" to Bruce, which, we were talking about before. I'm like, I don't know, Robin, maybe now is not the time for a quick. Guy's best friend is lost for... all right, you know what? Fine. You got kidnapped, but you know what? Fine. You say what you want. You took a rifle to the head. It's okay. Right, fine. They only have a few minutes before the bombs go off. Bruce asks Dick if he can reach for his watch, pops it open. Hidden inside is some secret Batman tech with lockpicking tools. Oh, Bruce, you clever minx. And they get themselves free of the restraints just before the booms start a-booming. And don't worry, Bruce picked up on the clue that Dick had given him over the phone and knew where they would likely bring him. He has the wing, the badass Batjet, waiting nearby on remote control. Batjet flies over, drops a rope ladder just seconds before the building they were standing on explodes. The dynamic duo bringing it to the wire. And then on a getaway yacht, Two-Face is looking at the smoking Gotham sideline and he bids Bruce a dark farewell. Grace asks Harvey what's happened to him and calls him a monster. Two-Face loses his shit and screams directly into Grace's face to never call me that. Before he can continue with the villain freakout, Batman and Robin descend from above, suited up and caught up in the wing. Batman drops from at least 20 feet again. Another great dropping just carelessly from 20 feet, slamming straight down into Two-Face and knocking him away from Grace. It's like probably
potentially fucking murdering him, Jason. Like he's like 200 pounds. He's a linebacker and he's fallen from a plane like multiple stories and it's just kicked to the jaw of Two-Face. Head is liquefied.
I know. It's just, you know what? Bruce has always had a flair for the dramatic. He's a theater kid at heart, I think.
Yeah, he definitely is. Is. But yes, Two-Face is not actually dead. He's just kicked in the head.
Robin sees the goons are coming and he makes short work of them. He's enjoying this violence and quips that it's too easy. In the excitement, he forgot about Two-Face, who just starts blasting his gun. He grabs Grace in the confusion. "Let her go, Two-Face," he shouts. Two-Face is a little surprised. He usually calls him Harvey, but Bats has finally given up on him. There's nothing left to save. Harsh, but fair, I suppose. Two-Face threatens to throw Grace overboard. While he's delivering this threat, Grace reaches in his pocket for the almighty coin. Oh my God, someone not a coin boy is touching the coin. Jams it in his bad eye, buying herself enough time to get away as Batman quickly pummels Two-Face into unconsciousness. The final scene is Batman and Robin looking over the burning wreckage of Gotham Gardens. They didn't lose everything, and all the things that Two-Face destroyed can be rebuilt. And as Batman sees Grace walking away, he's going, "No, Robin, not everything can be rebuilt." And then he just see a broken Grace walk away into the night. Like, oof, woof. Heavy shit. What'd you think?
Jason, I love this issue. This
Fuck
is so
yeah.
good.
Fuck yeah.
Ty Templeton, we talked about it last pod as well. Just absolutely brilliant layouts. There's and like dynamic figure work all throughout. In the beginning where Batman's like pummeling goons to try to find out where Two-Face is. There's a part where Robin roped a goon who's trying to get away on a motorcycle, and the motorcycle's flying in one direction and the goon's flying in the other. And it's a rope to like just a hand and a foot and a cape of like off to the side. And it's like, that's all you need. And there's so much dynamic fluidity in that shot. It's so good. And then, you keep reading. And I think that my favorite part of the whole thing was this quiet conversation that Batman and Robin have in the car where they're like,
yeah,
Batman's like, I got to save my friend. And Robin's like, you got to see the writing on the wall, dude. Like, if Joker was able to just nudge this guy back into insanity, like he was never sane to begin with. Like, you were going to release a guy who had a lot of serious problems,
it was one bad day away of turning into what he did.
And Batman's like, he pushes back. He's like, you don't know Harvey like I do. And Robin's like, but I know Two-Face, like this is the reality. It's not Harvey anymore. And I thought that conversation between them was maybe my favorite part of the whole issue, but the whole issue is a standout. It's all good, but like, this is Paul Dini, like doing it up. You know what I mean? This is him just like understanding the character, understanding the tension. And then we have, the last panel of that is he's not Harvey Batman. And Batman's just quietly, stoically like thinking. And we as a reader are like, as we read, did Robin convince him? Did he not convince him? How is Batman going to handle this? Like, does he still see good in Harvey? And then we get that payoff at the end where like they confront Harvey on the boat after the building explodes. And he's like, Harvey's like, Two-Face like, Grace, don't say that. Don't call me a monster ever. And then Batman swoops in and like confirms he's a monster, is like, there's nothing left to save. And it's like, at that point, he like really, like, we've solidified Two-Face as like the dominant personality. This is a serious thing that like Batman, he's angry and he's like mourning the loss of his friend in this like weird kind of way. It all worked really well.
Yeah. Oh yeah. Yeah, totally. Well, cause like, I think the whole, like, the psychological through line is that like it's Bruce wanting to save Harvey because he thinks there might be a chance he can not be Batman one day. And like there's a part of him that
I didn't consider that.
Doesn't want to do that anymore. Because Batman is the whole part of him that is still the pissed off little boy that his parents got murdered.
Yeah.
Like every villain or criminal he like pummels in the face is the same guy that, and
it's
like
all
he knows,
chill.
Yeah. And he knows on some level that it's not the right way. And so I always thought that like his interest in saving Harvey / Two-Face is like, no. If this disfigured guy who's been through so much can get through it, then maybe I can do
there's
something.
hope. Yeah.
Maybe I can just live a normal ass rich guy life, But yeah, the book was so freaking choice.
One quick note, I appreciated Robin, ultra fit, college age Robin, kicking the shit out of elderly henchmen. That was
having
enjoyable.
Fun with it. With
and having fun.
Smile on his face. Yeah, a smile on his face.
But the other thing that I absolutely wanted to point out was there are the 2 pages where the building's exploding when they're at the top of it. Ty Templeton does these extremely long panels that like show this immense scale of this building. He pulls the camera way back, and by making the panel vertical and having you start at the top of it and look all the way down to get to where the explosion is, he's creating this verticality that you don't normally see in comics.
Yeah, a great amount of depth. Yeah.
A great amount of depth. And that verticality in the panel that you read translates to fear for our characters who are like really high up. And then that page, like the explosion happens, and then Bruce is like, oh yeah, I got the bat plane on the way. And it's like a couple of horizontal panels on the right side of it. He's like, yeah, the plane's on the way. And then when they have to get off the building, it's 3 large vertical panels again to kind of emphasize the fear that these characters, like, this building's exploding. They're on top of it still. And even when they're dangling from the rope, like, they aren't safe, you know?
Yeah. Yeah. There's a bunch of fire down there.
By creating the panels in this way, he and laying out this page this way, he really like emphasizes the scale, the drama. Like if it were horizontal panels, it wouldn't have nearly the same effect.
No.
And so I just wanted to point that out. Ty Templeton, always killing it.
Yeah.
Also, oh no, go ahead.
Well, I was just going to say, I was holding it from, because when we were talking about Shadow and like, you know, one of the valid excuses is like, all right, well, it was a book for kids, essentially, you know, because it was still, especially Comics Code time and all that. But I think that this book and just Batman Adventures are great examples of like, you can have a really dramatic, deep story that kids will still want to read, and you can still make it enjoyable for older people too, because like, a 12-year-old they're gonna understand why like Grace is sad, and they know about relationships and all of that stuff, but like not like, you know, an adult who's maybe like lost a friend from just like, even like they had a fight, or they just grew apart, or whatever it is. And, you know, and so you can have that stuff there. It's also probably a lot harder though than, you know, than I'm giving it credit for, but
right. If you're Paul Dini, you can do that. Not everyone is Paul Dini.
Yeah. It's like drawing up a play that you know, that any professional sports team runs, and be like, in your rec league, be like, okay guys, but that was supposed to work. It's like, well, no, you're not the it works for the professional athletes because they're the professional athletes, you know. But I just think though it's just even in the 90s you can find great examples though of like, here is a book that's geared towards kids, but also is handling things on a more mature level, you know. But it is a tough needle to thread. But I just wanted, when we were talking about Shadow, I was like, oh, but I'll wait till we talk about Batman and Robin.
The only last like note that I wanted to make is, and I talked about this a little bit before, but Linda Medley's colors so fucking good in this issue. Like when it's like evening and they're like on top of the building or like, and Harvey's like getting away before the bat plane like shines its lights down. She's putting in this like very light blue, very saturated wash that's like very heavy over most of the light side of figures, and then she's using a warmer color for the shadows on the figures, and it creates this like incredible mood. But then she's also, and this is something that like when I was starting coloring, I like leaned really heavily into washes like this, but she's also not like a total slave to it. Like the blue wash should be washing out. Like Grace has a red jacket on, and we can always tell where Grace is because we see the red jacket, and the blue would really drown that out. It would turn it into like a gray and purple for the shadow. And so she's like, but she kept it red because that was like a really like solid marker of like, where is Grace on the page? And she made it all work. And it's one of those things that's like, okay, well, if you make that red, then like all the other reds on the page are also going to be weird. It's if they're in the grayer area because they're washed with a cooler color, then the red will on her jacket will look weird unless you go in and make the other reds, you punch them up. So like Two-Face's lips and stuff are like this red. And this is like, it all works really, really well. And it's something that like somebody who's this is professional shit. Like that's my point is that like, this is not an amateur, like clunkily, like kind of like when I started my career, I would stumble into some schemes that were like pretty good. And I'd be like, oh yeah, okay, this worked this time. Like I can see her being a stone cold pro on these pages. And I'm like, fuck yes. Fuck yes.
That's great.
Yeah. And it's especially great because like the animated style soaks up color. Like this stuff, it needs to be colored extremely well. And if when it does, it will sing.
Yeah, because the animated style is you're expecting the color, so there's a lot of the weight that you don't necessarily. Yeah, the figures and buildings you don't necessarily care so much about your like line weight or about a few other things because
it looks kind of animated style and
and you're also even like between just like the detail between each line is essentially like there's not a lot because you're expecting the color to be there, so you're like, I'm not gonna.
It's not Art Adams, you know.
You're not gonna. But man, I thank you for please continue to always bring up all of those things because I absolutely love hearing people talk about it, even if sometimes I might get lost a little bit in like some technicality. But I love it. Like I seriously like one of my favorite things to do is to like watch like professional like musicians or just musicians who just like really know what they're talking about and like sound engineers and stuff like talk about like mixes and why one mix is good and one mix isn't, or this master, like this remaster ruined it because it like, and even if I don't hear it or necessarily understand, like, I just like, I love hearing about the detail because there's just so much that goes into it. You know, like there's so much that goes into just coloring a single issue of a comic book that most people, you know, it's like, or I guess a better recent dramatic fictional example is like the show, the wonderful show, The Bear, you know, where it's like,
oh man, love like, The Bear.
Yeah. But where it's like to make this food like this good, like this is the kind of like practice and dedication. And here's all the tiny little details you have to experience just so you have to work your ass off for a week. So one person can have an amazing 1 hour of their life.
Right. Yeah.
Like, but I don't know. I just love that. Cause like, it's just so human, you know, to be like, no. I'm going to do this.
Yeah. There's something beautiful about like trying a thing and being like, I can do that better. And then being like doing it again and being like, I can do that a little better. And then like doing that for decades.
Yeah. Well, and wondering if anyone ever notices, you know.
Yeah.
And it's like, and it's like yes and no, because I think I'd seen this debate pop up every once in a while on comic art Twitter, where I think it's mostly tired artists and overworked artists probably being just either complaining for or against detailed backgrounds in panels.
Oh yeah.
And then some people being like, well, no one's going to notice any of the like, you know, but I think the counterpoint, and my counterpoint usually is that like, well, yeah, maybe not everyone's always going to notice like every little like book on the shelf or something like that, but the world you create and having it be more whole is going to drag them in. I love it when artists post on Twitter and they're like, hey, I drew the fuck out of this duffel bag that's like stuffed into the background, you know? And it's like, and it's like just an
absolute beautiful image of a duffel bag that's stuffed into the background. And you're just like, yeah, man, fuck, that's a great duffel bag. You know?
Oh yeah.
Cause like there's all these little moments in comics and where like, cause you have to draw everything and you have to like live in that space and like drawing, coloring, whatever. And so it's like, you're intimately familiar with like every background, every nook and cranny of every panel. And it's like, sometimes you start in there and like, this has happened to me before where I've like started rendering something and I got kind of sucked in cause it's like going really well. And then like I take a step back and been like, man, I over rendered that thing, but like it looks gorgeous and I'm keeping it. And like, no one's going to notice this character in the background that's like fucking gorgeous, but here's where we are.
Yeah. Because like that, like at the end of the day, other than like, you know, the food you get to live, the money you get for the food and all that is like,
that's the enjoyment.
It's why you pursued it in the first place. Is like, oh, wouldn't it be cool to every once in a while get to that moment where I get to just be like supremely satisfied on
chasing that dragon.
Yeah.
Last issue, we were promised a letters column. This issue did not deliver a letters column. So I think that Scott, the editor, decided that I think he was going to do a letters column for Gotham Adventures and then decided not to because it's kind of weird doing a letters column for a book that's a different title. So no letters this time. And there's no next issue stinger at the end. So who knows what we're going to get for the next issue of Batman and Robin Adventures. But I'm excited. Maybe more Paul Dini, maybe more Ty Templeton. I don't know. We'll see.
Yeah, we shall.
One other thing that I just wanted to make a comment on, and this is probably going to go in the beginning of the pod because now we're at the end of the pod, but on YouTube, I'm also posting this podcast. And if you want to see some of the pages and see some of the stuff that we're talking about, I ripped some pages out of the DC app and have put art with the video. So a lot of times it's just me and Jason talking, but every time we refer to a piece of art or something and we're describing it, I try to put that piece of art on screen so you can appreciate the book as well as us. So yeah, if you want to check that out, that's youtube.com/Nickfil.
Nice.
Jason, how do people get in touch with you?
They can still get in touch with it. I'm still calling it Twitter. It's Twitter on the Twitter machine.
You're not posting some X's?
No. God, the dumbest goddamn thing. I will say, but before I give the final preamble, it's endlessly hilarious to me that Elon is such a dipshit that he made Zuckerberg look like a cool guy for the only time.
It's so fucking weird, dude.
Man's entire life. Mark Zuckerberg has more money than God and has never been cool his entire life. And he grew up with a shitload of money too. And he has still never been a cool kid. And Elon Musk is such a freaking idiot that he made
him look cool. Yeah.
Yeah. For a brief moment. Wow. But they can reach me there at King of Black Acid. And also us at World's Second Finest. That's World's Second with the number 2. And Nick is at Nickfil.
Basically everywhere. On linktree.com/Nickfil. You can find all my links there. I actually just set up a Blue Sky, but I haven't posted anything up there yet. I don't know if that's going to be the Twitter killer, but I'm ready.
Yeah.
I've parked the account. I've browsed over there a little bit more often. We'll see what happens.
Yeah.
I don't know. Part of me is like, maybe just no social media. Maybe I'm a over 40-year-old man who just wants to be done. But then I'll see something that'll like pull me back in. And I'm like, maybe social media is good.
Yeah. Yeah. There's always There's always that. Just keep it off your phone at least. I try to keep it off my phone.
Yes.
That's my trick. Keep it off the phone.
Yeah. Best way to get in touch with me is not through social media, but to join the Discord where we hang out and talk comics. We've been chatting a lot about comics in general. And I have also been posting about fixing Sega Saturns and how much of a nightmare it's been for me. So if you want that content, it's up there on the Discord. Come join us.
Get it.
Get on that content. I'm a content machine, Jason. Thanks for listening.
Thanks for listening.